Hey guys, it's B. Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about two Chanel bags, two of my favorite bags. This one, which is really new to me, and this is the Reissue bag and my jumbo. And predominantly it's about comparing the two. I also have the medium large classic flap, but my brain's not that organized and I found it really hard thinking about comparing three things, whereas comparing two is like a head-to-head battle. So if you want more videos, probably better than mine, looking at all three sizes to help you with mod shots and everything, and really comprehensive to help you pick one of these, I would send you in the direction of Leo Lion LV and Lux Purse Love, and also Anna in Warsaw. Those were the three people whose videos I watched over and over again when I was deciding if I really was gonna shell out for another Chanel classic. So this one's empty, just so I could show you around the bag, and I have got notes, so I am going to be looking down because I have a tendency to ramble in my videos and not stay on point. So I think it's better if I look at my notes than make a massive long video that I have to spend ages editing, because that's not my strong point. Okay, so the pros and cons, and then we're going to look at what fits. So the pros of the Reissue are, I think this is a great size for everyone. Whether you're a big girl like me or you're really petite, I think that this being exactly kind of halfway between the medium large and the jumbo is a really great size for everyone. It can take you day to night. It's not too big for going out for dinner or something, but also if you had to go to work, I mean, obviously not files and stuff, but it's just a great in-between size. So many people say that, and it's true, that if you have the medium large or the jumbo and you decide you want the other size, you're really surprised at the difference. So basically the jumbo is, these are roughly, I don't really do measurements and stuff. This is like a 12-inch across bag. This is an 11-inch across bag, and the medium large is a 10-inch. So when you look at that 2 inches in width difference between the jumbo and the medium, you might think that's not that much difference, but they are worlds apart, and this is right in the middle. So if you're kind of torn and you think that the jumbo is too big and the medium large is a little bit of a compromise or too small, this is just a really great size. It's comfortable. The bag is squishy and comfortable. Now again, my pros might not be your pros, and we'll get onto that with the cons. But for me, I like bags that have shape and aren't just a big puddle when you put them on a table, but have a bit of smoosh and give to them. And it makes me feel cozy and bond with them more. That sounds weird, but you handbag lovers out there will know what I mean. So I love the fact that the bag can be almost flat, and what they call the bum of the bag is down, so that you can store this. And I wouldn't put this in a suitcase and check it in, but you can do that. You could wrap this and put it pretty flat in a holder or something if you were doing carry-on, and then have it as one of your bags. Whereas some, I mean, a Speedy folds flat like that as well, which is a great plus. Whereas some bags are really boxy and structured and they're hard to pack. I like that about it. What else do I have here? Yeah, and the jumbo, you'll see when I talk about that, you can flatten it out and make it more structured, but the base is just not rigid. So it's when it's on my hip, on the long strap or whatever, it hasn't got that boxy feel, which I really like about this. It makes it comfortable. The chain is not only stunningly beautiful, but very soft. One of the things that before I ever actually tried this bag on, I was concerned about a sort of all metal chain. I felt that, I just assumed that the mix of leather and chain on the jumbo, on the classic flaps, would be more comfortable, but this is like a sort of, it feels like a snake. Like, it's really smooth because the way the links are put together, none of it really sticks out. And there is this beautiful design, which it's not going to focus on those links, and each one is like different. It's just really beautiful. And to be honest, it was one of the things I was craving, one of the things that I really wanted as a kind of, I'm not a collector in that I have things that I don't use, but I'm a Chanel fan. And so therefore, when I realized some of the heritage and stuff around this bag, it made me really want it, and the chain was one of those elements. It's really smooth. You know how sometimes with the classic flaps, when you pull it through, it doesn't want to come, or it can catch? I feel like, oh, it's so packed, it's heavy. With this one, it's just so kind of liquid and smooth. It never seems to snag. It doesn't make as much noise. It's just really pleasurable to use that chain. The bag is a little bit more discreet, or you could call it low key, than maybe the classic flaps. So if you are someone who is full glam all the time, or where you live or your lifestyle, you like a lot of nice gold hardware or you like a lot of bling on your bags, then this one might not be for you. But for me, I really like the fact that I know it's Chanel and it feels luxurious to me, but maybe other people, if I'm out somewhere with my child or whatever, it's just not as obvious that you're carrying an expensive bag or a Chanel bag, and I really like that about it. So you can really dress really casually with this, or it's still ladylike, you can dress it up. So I really like that versatility. And then I wanted to talk about two more things, just the leather itself. Obviously there are different versions of this bag, but the kind of most common one, or the one that I've seen the most, is this distressed or kind of aged, whatever you want to call it, calfskin. And this is the perfect Chanel leather for me. I have the shoes in this leather, and I feel like it feels soft like lambskin to the touch, but it's got that durability. The fact that it's been, I think what they do is they stretch it and then relax it. So there's a sort of stretching and then it contracts, and that leaves the sort of creasing or wrinkling. And that hides a multitude of sins, I guess, over the years that you enjoy it and use it. If you do get little scratches and stuff, they're not going to show. Whereas on a really smooth, especially on a really puffy lambskin bag, I think you can get those scratches. And people always talk about how, excuse the dogs, how you can just rub it with your finger and they'll come out. Let's face it, if you get an actual scratch on a lambskin leather bag, you're not going to be able to rub that out with the oils in your fingers. That's just very fine surface scratches. So I've had a lambskin jumbo before, and let me tell you, the scuffing rather than the scratching was a problem. So I feel like with this, it's durable, but it looks luxurious. So that's the perfect sort of combo for me. So those are the pros of the bag. It's light, that's another thing. It feels really light, empty. The chain is obviously heavy, but the bag itself just feels really light, but it holds quite a bit. I think also the fact this leather is good because it's not as rigid as caviar. So, I mean, you shouldn't overstuff your bags and stretch out the shape, and you could definitely do that with this bag, but it does hold a lot for its size because it's flexible and you can get a bit more in there. Okay, the downsides that I've noticed, or maybe for me, but again, they might not be for everybody, or some of them I don't mind about. Some people don't like this bag because it doesn't keep that nice rounded domed look of the jumbo that I'm going to show you in a minute. The pointy top. And I used to look at that and think, oh, I don't like that. I had a pointy top on my single flat jumbo that I had for a very long time, and I didn't like that. But because this was like that from the off, it really doesn't bother me. You'll see a lot of people that own this bag go to great lengths to avoid that, maybe by the way that they store the bag or the way that they pack the bag, so that the bag is nice and full at the top, because they really want to encourage a nice rounded shape. But I just don't have time for that. I just wear it and enjoy it, and the fact that it peaks a bit at the top means that it's not so thick at your side, and I quite like it, but that might not be for everyone. I've put that the chain is a bit short for me for crossbody. If this chain was a little bit longer, not necessarily as long as the jumbo, but just a little bit longer, like 2 more inches, I feel like I could wear this comfortably crossbody. With a coat on, there's no way I can, but that's not for everyone. I'm curvy. I'm not particularly tall, I'm 5'5", but I'm broad, and I feel like it sits right on the ribs, and I have carried it around like that when I need to be hands-free, just with a light sweater. But if I'm wearing thick winter clothes, I feel like it's sort of strangling me a bit and it's pulling. So that is something where I go to the jumbo if I want to do that. But again, if you're more petite, I know lots of people who get on fine with this crossbody. The part of the appeal for me with this leather is this distressed, slightly vintage look. I like heritage pieces or things that look heritage in style. And one thing I've noticed is that the quilts, when I bought this, I got them to bring me quite a few to look at, and they were all quite different. Obviously, all of this leather has got this kind of creasing effect, but some had like deep folds or creases that went across the whole bag. I chose one with kind of more minimal creasing. And one thing I noticed that they all had in common is that the quilts are quite flat from the off. You can see that. They're not really puffy in the same way that some caviar and particularly lambskin bags are, but I don't mind that. I'm not really bothered about the puffiness of quilts. I never have been. But if that's something that bothers you, you won't really like this style, I don't think. The lock. So, again, pluses and minuses. I like the style of the lock, and I like the heritage aspect of this bag, that this is the most close to what Coco Chanel herself designed, and I love that about it. But it is very discreet. It does say Chanel there, but when the bar is down, you can't really see it. And particularly in this ruthenium hardware, not like a shiny hardware. You will get limited seasonal ones, like I saw it last year, in a denim, in a light denim with shiny silver hardware, and the Chanel was more obvious. But in this kind of aged, distressed ruthenium, you can't really tell that it's a Chanel bag or a Chanel lock, unless you know about Chanel. And I really like that. That's one of the big selling points of this bag for me. But for some people, you've saved up all that money, you want Chanel, you want more bang for your buck, and you want it to scream Chanel. I totally get that. It's just, for some people, this is a con. And the other thing is that it's definitely not as easy to, it's just as easy to open, but it's not as easy to close this bag as the jumbo. And that is because the jumbo is so structured and rigid, so that this bit here is more structured, the leather bit. And the bag, when you're pressing down, if you don't have much in there and it's squashy, a bit like the Louis Vuitton Métis, it's quite hard, because this is like a precise rectangle. It's maybe quite hard if you're not looking at it to line that up and do that. Whereas for some reason, because the metal on this one is so rounded, it's kind of easier to find it by feel. But it's not a major irritation for me, but I do know people who've not kept this bag because of that. In terms of structure loss and stuff, that's going to really depend on how you use it, how you stuff it, how you look after it. I mean, stuff it with belongings, and how you stuff it when you're not using it. The one thing I've noticed is that the lower front and back of the bag, I've only used this about 10 times. There's a real sort of dip here when it's empty, this is, and here, but when it's got stuff in it or when it's stuffed, that kind of goes, and it doesn't bother me. I don't think it's going to be a problem in the long term if you look after it. But you will see, you know, this is just not really a structured bag. Even the inside, it's very soft and sort of slouchy, and for some people, even friends of mine, have commented like, that to them is not a Chanel bag. It's not what they're after when they go for a flat bag. So that's my thoughts on it. I really like it. I really don't want this to kind of cave in or get really deep creasing. That would put me off. So I'm just going to watch that. But I think you can kind of train these bags by stuffing them and looking after them properly to avoid that. Right, so here is the jumbo. It's huge. The OG. So that is, to most people, a much more recognizable kind of Chanel bag style, and you might just prefer that. Let's look at the two together. But remember, this one's empty. So side by side like that, they don't look that much different in size. This one is basically an inch wider, an inch taller, but the width at the base anyway is kind of similar. But this one goes narrower at the top. This one kind of keeps its width a bit more, and you can fit more in this one. So let's just see briefly what out of this we can fit in the other one. Again, technically they're both the same. Double flaps, the pockets and everything and the sections are the same. It's just that this whole bag is just much more structured, thicker and sturdier. So that's what I have in it now. To be honest, I would not go out with all of this. I kind of have to make choices between different things, but it all fits in there really nicely. It's just really heavy. So I have in here Agenda PM, small Morris & Co pouch for essentials, hand cream, tangle teaser. And some of these things are more bulky and and take up space, but they're light. Like this is really light, but it takes up space, and other things are heavy. AirPods in a silicone case. In the lipstick holder, I've got a Glossier, the matte thing. Are they Generation G? Yeah, the matte zip, the red lipstick. It's probably worn off a bit now. My wallet, I love this Mulberry wallet for my Chanel bags because the burgundy matches so nicely. And also, even though you can fit it, I would never use a long wallet in the jumbo because it's really heavy. So I always use like a half size zippy thing. 6 key holder with car fob and just 2 keys. And a coin pouch from Louis Vuitton. I love this thing. And it's got it's got like £13 worth of change in it. So the bag is then completely empty. And it's still quite substantial. Just very briefly, because we're running out of time. The pros of this, and kind of in comparison with the other one, it's really classic. So although this is the kind of original that she designed, this lock, the all chain, Karl Lagerfeld kind of updated this, and in terms of recognizability, like around the world, this is what people associate with as a Chanel bag. So if you want that classic style and you really want the Chanel logo and everything, this is kind of like the classic one. It's really structured and holds its shape without any effort. With this one, I have to make an effort to maintain the shape so that it doesn't collapse here and underneath the Mona Lisa pocket and things like that. Whereas this one, you don't even need to stuff it. The base is so rigid that you could put it on the side empty and on a shelf, and you're never going to get slouching or anything. I mean, eventually the sides tend to relax a bit, but it just looks after itself unless you overstuff it or abuse it. This particular leather, I think most people get the jumbo in caviar. It's incredibly durable, and I actually really like the look of it. It's incredibly durable. I've had this bag for 2 or 3 years, and I've looked over it and I just cannot find any, not even rubbing on the corners. It looks exactly almost the same as when I bought it. It holds a lot if you need. You can see there I've got quite a lot of things in it, and it holds those things if you need it. As I said, out of preference, I try to pretend this is a slightly smaller bag and pack it that way, just for the weight. For some people, I like the length of the chain. I wear it mostly doubled up, and I like the way that it drops quite far, so that it's kind of in line with the top of my arm like that, very naturally. Whereas with the Reissue, I like it on the long single chain on the side. This I can't wear like that, it's too long. If I'm going to wear it on a single chain, I'll do it crossbody, because on me even, like, I'm not going to stand up now, my scruffy jeans, but when I wear it single strap, it hits my thigh, halfway between my knee and my hip, and that's a bit low. But you can do things inside you can sort of pinch the straps inside and tie them together and alter it that way. But I like the length of the chain drop when it's doubled up. It's really comfortable for me. But again, like I was saying about the Reissue, like for some people, that's the perfect length chain. I'd like it a bit longer. And for some people, this is a bit too long and they'd like it a bit shorter. So, and same with the wok. Some people find that too long. I find it perfect. The other thing I didn't really mention on the Reissue, currently, I think it's changing because the Reissue is having a resurgence in popularity, but this bag, the Resale, is really good. I would say the Resale on this is the best across the Chanel kind of bag range, even compared with the medium large. I don't know where that is. I think this is probably the most popular style because it's very versatile. You can use it all day. You can make it go crossbody, all the rest of it. So if you were to get, especially in black, if you were to get a black caviar classic flap in the jumbo with either, I think it's kind of 50-50, I'm not sure what the ratio is on popularity of gold and silver, but I think either of the hardwares, you are going to, I don't agree with this thing about bags as investments. There's better things to invest your money in if you're just looking for financial gain, but in terms of holding value, so that if it's not right for you, you can sell it, or if it shows a lot of wear and tear and you've loved it for quite a lot of years and you want to get a new one, you can get quite a lot of your initial expenditure back. Whereas with the Reissue, maybe there's a slight upward trend now, but still the Reissue doesn't have a great resale, maybe because it's not as structured or shows its age more, I'm not sure. But these do really well. The main differences are, this is more boxy, structured, and it's really heavy. This is not structured, it's not boxy, it's soft and slouchy, and it's much lighter. but it doesn't hold as much and the strap is shorter. So it really is, you know, you can watch as many videos like this as you like, but you need to, especially when you're spending this kind of money, you really need to go and try them on more than once and see what just feels like a natural fit for you. If you want to ask me which one I recommend, I'm not really going to give an opinion because I really like them both. If I really liked one way more than the other, I wouldn't have both. I mean, they're really expensive. They're currently exactly the same price because this is technically in the jumbo price bracket and all the classics are the same. So they're both the same price. It's just what you prefer. I think if you're someone with neck, shoulder or back problems, I would say that you should rule out the jumbo completely. It's too heavy and it's not as if it has a top handle like the Coco where you can hold the bag just down with your hand and like switch it up like that. It is carried on the shoulder or across the body, and if you get strain on your shoulders, I just think that is literally too heavy. I think this you could possibly do, but you'd have to, again, when this is packed, it can be heavy. So let's see what we can fit in here just to round things out. What I didn't show you is when I carry the jumbo, I either carry my phone in this back pocket here. I don't do that if it hasn't got the case on it. I'm using it to film now because actually this is quite a generous pocket, and because mine's relaxed a bit because the bag's not brand new, my phone is very slippery and slim. I've got the iPhone XR and the phone could fly out if I kind of went like that with the bag or something. So if it's got the silicone case on, it tends to sort of grip a bit more, and I would carry it there. But on the whole, unless I'm like waiting for a call and I think, no, I need it right there, I tend to put my phone here in both bags. And that also, having something solid there helps with lining up the lock and having something to press against. The one thing I would say in both of these bags is I never, and I'm really passionate about this, I never use this slip between the two flaps. It's not a pocket. You can ask any Chanel SA, they do not promote you actually using that as a pocket. It's just kind of like happens to be there because of the two flaps. On all of this style bag, there was an anchoring stitch here, and you'll often find that people who use this pocket a lot, they are putting a great deal of strain on that stitch there, and that stitch can go. It did go on my single flat jumbo because after 4 or 5 years of using that, because I thought it was a good pocket for paperwork, I was just putting strain on that stitch and it split. And there's enough functionality in the bag that you don't need to do that. So that's just another side note. Right, so here is my reissue. Let's fill it up. So I would put my phone in here, but I'm not going to because I'm using it to film. So the things I absolutely need to have are my wallet. This doesn't have any coins in it. You can put coins in it. Currently there's 2 notes, and I'll just show you very quickly. I love this. I want to get a summery colour because it's a really functional, good quality little zippy. 9 cards, and there's some money in that central bit there, and it's not bulging at all. You could put way more, and it's really lightweight. So that one's in there. Definitely need some coins. Now this is where we get into the debate. Like, definitely need the key holder. Depends how long I'm going out for. If I feel fine and I'm just going out for an hour, I don't always take this essentials pouch. I might just take my lip colour in the lipstick holder or just in one of the slip pockets. Don't necessarily need my AirPods. I kind of use them more if I'm going to go on a train or if I'm going to go for a long walk and I want to listen to a podcast, so I'll leave those out. The hairbrush doesn't take up a lot of weight, but it does take up space. I usually do need a hand cream at the moment in winter, not all year round. And the Agenda PM, although this is fairly small, I think that is where I'm going to struggle. I'm going to have either neither of those or one or the other. And you'll see as well that filling the bag has really puffed it out nicely, and you haven't got any of that caving in that you've got when the bag is empty. It feels substantial, but it doesn't feel as heavy as the jumbo. If we took the hairbrush out, I will say, since I've cut my hair a lot shorter, I don't need to brush it as much. I did have a lovely flat Bowman comb, which is really good for slim, like flat bags like this, but it broke. These are quite thick and bulky, so they're fine in a Neverfull or something, but I do need to get another comb or a tiny portable brush because that does take up a lot of space. So let's say I was going to something where I might need to make an appointment. I'm going to the hairdressers and I might need to make an appointment for my next appointment. The agenda's in there and that fits absolutely fine, but I probably couldn't take this as well. So what I sometimes do with these essential pouches is take out, let's say, if I have, you know, I've got loads of tiny pouches if I need like feminine products or a lip balm or a hair tie, or I can put individual things. And I could carry that. It's just the agenda or that. So there we go. That's fine as well. Not too heavy, not too stuffed with the agenda in. Or I could take that out. Took the hand cream out. Just trying to find a way to put both of those in. Yeah, actually that's fine. It's just going to be a little bit packed. So that has got the Agenda PM, the wallet, the coin thing, the pouch and the key holder and the lipstick. And I could probably put the hand cream in the top, but not that and not that. So basically the jumbo can hold maybe 2 more small items. There's not actually that much in it. There you have it. I love them both. They look quite different to me. This is really awesome that it's right in between the medium and the jumbo. I think you just have to go and try them out and see how you feel. But I hope this was kind of useful and comprehensive. I think I've gone through everything on my notes. If you've got any questions, feel free to message me, but over on Instagram, not on here, because I don't use the YouTube messaging service at all. I find it really weird. But yeah, if you have any questions, either if you want a private answer, DM me on Instagram, or just leave a question in the comments down below. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.